At 2:43 a.m., the phone vibrated under Zina's pillow. Not a call. Not a message. A voice note. She pressed play with shaking fingers. A woman's soft voice whispered. "If you don't leave him, I will take everything from you." Then a quiet laugh followed. Zina sat upright in bed, her chest tightening as she slowly turned to the man sleeping beside her. Korede, her husband of 6 years. On her screen was the image she would never unsee. Her husband. On another woman's bed. Alive. Clear. Real. By morning, one of them would be ruined forever. Welcome to Tales by Lima. Please like, share and subscribe. Tonight's story is not just about cheating. It is about what happens when you compare your destiny with someone else's blessing. Turn off the lights. Lock your doors. This is She Wanted My Life. Zina was not poor. But she was not fulfilled. Every night after Korede slept, she curled into the corner of the bed and scrolled endlessly through one woman's page. Her name was Lavina Ross. Lavina had everything Zina dreamed of. A glowing home. A stylish wardrobe. A husband that showed her off. Soft laughter. Public affection. Private luxury. While Zina washed plates in silence, Lavina was flying to Zanzibar. While Zina managed monthly bills, Lavina posted shopping bags taller than her body. One night, Zina whispered to her phone. Why is her life mine in another universe? From that moment, envy quietly entered her marriage. Zina stopped smiling fully. Korede noticed. "You've changed," he said one evening. She shrugged. Life. But her soul was screaming. She wanted to be admired. To be pampered. To be envied too. One rainy evening, while running from the storm, Zina entered a small roadside shop filled with strange perfumes, oils, mirrors, and red candles. An old woman studied her face and said calmly, "You don't want your husband. You want another woman's destiny." Zina laughed nervously. But she still bought one oil. The woman leaned close and whispered, "Rub it on your wrist before sleep. Your wishes will start answering you." That night, Korede couldn't take his eyes off her. Zina felt powerful. She didn't know what she had just invited into her home. 3 weeks later, Korede became a stranger. Late nights. Secret smiles. Silent phone calls. Unfamiliar excitement in his eyes. Zina checked his phone one night while he slept. Nothing. No evidence. Until a notification flashed and vanished instantly. Only one letter showed. L. Her heart crashed. The next morning, Lavina posted a picture. A man's arm rested on her thigh. On his wrist was a scar shaped like a crescent moon. Zina staggered back from the phone. She knew that scar. She stitched it herself when Korede was injured 4 years ago. Her stomach twisted. Her hands shook. Her entire marriage collapsed in silence. That same night, the same unknown number sent her another voice note. "You opened the door. Now you will watch me walk in fully." Zina stopped sleeping. Not because of nightmares, but because reality had become worse than dreams. Korede was now 2 different men. By day, he was still the quiet, hard-working husband who ate from the same plate as her, prayed before meals, and asked politely how her day went. By night, he transformed. He smiled more. Locked his phone. Stepped outside to answer calls. Showered immediately after returning home. Smelled unfamiliar. Zina began to monitor everything. How long he stayed in the bathroom. How often he smiled at his phone. How he suddenly cared about dressing well for random meetings. One evening, she followed him. Not out of anger. Out of desperation. He entered an upscale apartment building she had only seen in Lavina's posts. Her heart pounded so violently she nearly collapsed inside her car. She waited. 30 minutes passed. Then 1 hour. Then 2. When Korede finally came out, his face looked satisfied. At home that night, Zina vomited quietly in the bathroom. He entered afterward and wrapped his arms around her. "You're cold," he said. She didn't answer. Because she finally understood the most painful truth in the world. He was choosing someone else, while still sleeping beside her. Meanwhile, Lavina believed she was winning. She posted subtle pictures of gifts. Subtle clips of a man's shadow beside her. Subtle captions about being finally loved right. But what Lavina didn't know was that she was not the hunter. She was also the prey. Lavina's life was not always soft. Years ago, she had been invisible. Overlooked. Used. Discarded. Men dated her but never stayed. Friends praised her beauty but mocked her poverty behind her back. She once loved a man deeply, and he left her for his more responsible choice. That loss broke her. And that night, she went searching. Not for love. For power. The same woman Zina met at the roadside, was the woman Lavina met years earlier. But Lavina went further. She didn't buy just oil. She entered a covenant. She was told, "You will attract what belongs to others. But you must never fall in love. If you do, you will lose everything." Lavina agreed. Men began to chase her. Marriages collapsed around her. She became the woman other women feared. Until Korede entered her life. For the first time. She didn't just want a man. She wanted a future. And that was her greatest mistake. Zina finally confronted Korede. Not with shouting. Not with tears. With silence. "I followed you," she said one night, staring straight into his eyes. His face drained. "I saw where you go." He opened his mouth to deny, then closed it again. "She's nothing," he said softly. "It just happened." Zina laughed. A broken laugh. "Nothing doesn't destroy a marriage," she said. That night, as they slept in the same bed like strangers, Lavina screamed in her apartment. Every mirror shattered at once. Every light went off. Her phone rang. It was the old woman. "You broke the rule," the voice said calmly. "You fell in love. And far away." Zina woke up choking for breath. The oil bottle she once bought exploded on her bedside table. Dark liquid spread across the floor like blood. That same hour, Korede collapsed on Lavina's bed. Alive. But not breathing. Korede did not die that night. But he also did not wake up. His body was warm. His heart was beating. Machines blinked and beeped steadily. Yet his soul was nowhere to be found. Doctors called it a mysterious coma. Zina sat beside his hospital bed for 3 days without sleep. She watched the chest of a man who had betrayed her rise and fall slowly. And for the first time since the affair began, she felt something unexpected. Not rage. Not jealousy. But fear. "What if I lose him before I ever hear the truth?" she whispered. Meanwhile, in another hospital across the city, Lavina was fighting a different kind of battle. Her mirrors had shattered, but what broke inside her was worse. She could feel it. The charm was reversing. Her beauty no longer felt like a blessing. It felt heavy. Cursed. Foreign. And every time she closed her eyes, she saw the same vision. Korede standing between 2 doors. One door glowing with soft light. the other dripping darkness. And no matter how loudly she screamed his name, he never turned to her. On the 5th day, Korede finally woke up. Zina was asleep beside his bed when his fingers twitched. When he opened his eyes and saw her, he began to cry. A grown man. Weeping silently. "I saw it," he whispered weakly. "Saw what?" Zina asked, sitting upright. "The thing that followed me, the thing that entered me whenever I went to her." Zina's blood ran cold. He confessed everything. How he met Lavina. How he felt pulled toward her without control. How each time he tried to stop, the attraction doubled. How his dreams became strange. How he began to hear whispers telling him, "Just one more time." But the last time, he sobbed, "I felt something tear inside me." Zina listened in silence as her world finally received its truth. When he finished, she asked one question. "Do you love her?" He shook his head violently. "I don't even understand what that was." It wasn't normal. That was the moment Zina realized something deeper than betrayal had been at work. The old woman came for Lavina that night. Not physically. Spiritually. Lavina felt herself dragged into darkness in her sleep. She stood in a vast, empty space. The old woman appeared before her, no longer bent, no longer human. "You were warned," the voice echoed. "Never love what is not yours." Lavina fell to her knees, shaking. "I just wanted a real life," she cried. "I'm tired of being the side story." "You chose power instead of patience," the voice replied. "Now power will choose your punishment." Lavina begged. Screamed. Promised to leave Korede. Promised to disappear. But covenants do not negotiate. By morning, Lavina could no longer see her reflection. In mirrors. In water. On phone screens. People looked at her and felt uneasy. Dogs barked at her without reason. Children cried when she passed. Her beauty remained. But her soul had already been marked. Weeks later, Korede was discharged. He returned home a broken man. Not because of sickness. But because of truth. Zina watched him quietly as he moved around the house like a stranger in his own skin. One evening, she said calmly, "I forgive you." He fell to his knees. But forgiveness did not mean restoration. Zina later packed her things. She did not leave in anger. She left in clarity. "I loved you," she said. "But I will not lose myself to prove it." She walked out of the marriage with dignity. With scars. With wisdom. Lavina was found months later. Alone. Living quietly. Unrecognizable. Men no longer chased her. Attention no longer followed her. Her phone stayed silent. The power that once fed her had finished using her. And the life she envied had returned to its owner. Zina rebuilt her life slowly. Not in luxury. But in peace. And she finally understood. You can admire another person's light. But the moment you try to steal it, darkness will answer you instead. Months passed. Seasons changed. But some consequences never left. Zina rebuilt her life slowly, not in applause, not in public celebration, but in quiet courage. She learned how to wake up without fear. How to breathe without checking her phone. How to sleep without wondering who her husband was lying with. She rented a small apartment with sunlight that touched every corner of the room. No shadows. No secrets. No whispers in the dark. Some nights, she still remembered Korede. Not with bitterness. Not with longing. But with the strange tenderness reserved for things that once meant home. Korede tried. He truly did. He sought counseling. He prayed. He fasted. He begged destiny for another chance. But some mistakes do not reverse. They only mature into lessons. Every time he passed Zina on the street, their eyes met briefly. No hatred. No anger. No desire. Just the heavy silence of two people who survived the same storm, but on different boats. And Lavina. Lavina became a rumor. People spoke of her quietly. She used to be so beautiful. She used to be everywhere. She used to take husbands. But no one could say who she had become. She avoided mirrors. Avoided crowds. Avoided memories. What haunted her was not the loss of beauty. It was the loss of control. For the first time in her life, men did not notice her. Attention did not chase her. Power did not respond to her voice. And in that silence, she finally heard the sound of her own soul. One evening, she sat alone on her bed and whispered, "I only wanted to matter." But the room gave no answer. Because stolen destinies never come with peace. Korede never married again. Not because he was cursed. But because he was changed. The thrill of secrecy no longer excited him. The chase no longer tempted him. The appetite for risk had been burned out of him by consequence. He learned, too late, that desire without discipline always collects its payment. And Zina. Zina became something rare. A woman who was once broken. But never bitter. She learned to admire other people's success without comparing. To celebrate other people's love without questioning her worth. To scroll without bleeding inside. One night, sitting on her balcony under quiet stars, she received a message. From a young woman she barely knew. "I'm about to ruin my relationship because I envy another woman's life. Please, tell me the truth. Is it worth it?" Zina stared at her phone for a long time. Then she typed one sentence. "Nothing stolen ever stays." That night, the wind moved gently through the curtains. And for the first time in a long time, Zina slept without dreams. The moral of the story. 1. Comparison is the silent thief of destiny. The moment you measure your life against someone else's highlight, you begin to undervalue your own purpose. 2. Desire without discipline creates destruction. When craving leads and wisdom follows, loss becomes inevitable. 3. Not every door that opens is sent by God. Some doors open as traps disguised as opportunities. 4. Power gained without peace always demands repayment. Lavina gained attention but lost her soul. Zina lost love but gained her life. 5. Forgiveness heals the forgiver first. Zina didn't forgive to restore the marriage, she forgave to restore herself. They say not all betrayals come from enemies. Some come from envy. Some from desire. And some from the version of ourselves we refuse to discipline. Tonight's story reminds us that not everything you admire is meant to be yours.